42 cases of animal smuggling were detected in 2024, a 20% increase from 2023. The National Parks Board and the Immigration and Checkpoints Authority say 18 of them involved illegally importing live wildlife. Now, this is up from 10 cases in 2023.
Stuffed into pipes and crammed into a duffel bag without air, food and water. That is how 16 live birds were found during a luggage inspection at Changi Airport. 3 of the birds did not make it. It was one of 42 animal smuggling cases uncovered last year, a 20% rise from 2023. The authorities have detected 8 cases so far this year.
There are multiple reasons why detection has increased through our joint effort with our partner agencies like Immigration Checkpoint Authority and Singapore Customs. We have used technology to better detect such cases over our checkpoint.
While the bulk of the cases involved pets like kittens, puppies and arowanas, 18 involved wildlife considered exotic. This is up 80% from 2023.
There are various reasons as to why the demand for exotic wildlife as pets is on the rise. So one of it could be novelty, because we have a small list of approved pets to be kept at home in Singapore. The other cases that we noticed was that exotic wildlife or animals being transiting through Singapore.
For instance, these 58 endangered Indian star tortoises were en route to Indonesia from India when they were discovered in Singapore. Efforts to clamp down on illegal trade have ramped up in recent years. For example, in 2022, a law was changed to strengthen enforcement against those who trade endangered species covered under an international convention. National Development Minister of State Alvin Tan emphasized the importance of international collaboration. He was speaking at the inaugural Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, or CITES, Global Youth Network Summit opening ceremony.
So we don't just work collaboratively within the Singapore government and our agencies, but we work also with our international partners, sharing findings that can help tackle poaching, hotspots more effectively, and curb illegal wildlife trade at source.
It's not just leaders trying to tackle the issue. The network's more than 70 youths from 56 countries gathered to do just that. Its co-founder Steffi Tan says the network provides a chance for diverse voices to be heard.
When we learn about each other's different unique contexts and perspectives, we can come together to form a solution that really works for the good and effectiveness of the CITES Convention and its implementation.
The youths hope to showcase their work at a conference in Uzbekistan this November and make tangible change for the future of wildlife.
The illegal wildlife trade entails more than just the smuggling of live animals across borders. Very often it involves valuable animal parts. Here are some of the biggest shipments that have been caught here in Singapore while in transit. Starting with the world's most trafficked mammal, the pangolin. In April 2019, Singapore authorities seized the largest ever haul of pangolin scales when they were on the way from Nigeria to Vietnam. The case involved close to 13 tons, worth more than $52 million. Another record was broken in July that year when 8.8 tons of elephant ivory were intercepted similarly on their way to Vietnam. They're estimated to have come from nearly 300 African elephants. The price tag, more than $17 million in total. In October 2022, authorities seized 20 pieces of rhinoceros horns in one of the largest such hauls in Singapore. They were en route from South Africa to Laos. Their wholesale value came up to more than $1.2 million. Now, for more, we have with us Associate Professor Adrian Loo, Deputy Director at the NUS Centre for Climate-Based Solutions. Professor Loo, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
So, despite strict laws and enforcement, we're still seeing animal smuggling to continue to thrive worldwide. Why is it so hard to curtail?
I think, there's always a demand and also the supply, and also the transport infrastructure is so well established in a lot of ports, and Singapore is also a very busy port. Not only Singapore, but countries around the region as well. So it's always easy to smuggle things, through en route. So there's a lot of transshipment happening along these countries as well.
Okay.
So while we are doing our best to detect them, they still sometimes slip through these transshipment centres. Yeah.
Are there particular species or regions that are especially vulnerable right now?
I guess, as you can see from that piece of information, right, it's coming from Africa and it's going right to Vietnam. So not only that, there are also illegal wildlife trade that's traveling from Southeast Asia to Europe as well, songbirds especially. So within the region also there is some movement as well of illegal wildlife trade.
Okay, we've seen an 80% surge in the numbers of live illegal imports. Where is this demand coming from and basically who's driving it?
Okay, so I think there's always been a demand for exotic pets, right? But it's been amplified by social media. And not only that, right, then you have what you call online marketplaces that actually just amplify the whole thing. It generates interest, and then you get new entrants into this illegal wildlife trade. Yeah.
Are consumers always aware that they are buying smuggled animals?
Sometimes they're aware, sometimes they're not. So sometimes they're blatantly aware, and they try to get by through these platforms as well.
When you say they're not aware,
yeah.
I mean, what's the problem there?
I think because it's so ubiquitous, right, on social media and online platforms, I think it becomes quite easy for them to actually just buy it without even a single thought. And it looks so interesting, a sugar glider or hedgehog. And maybe they are very young as well, so they may not be sure. Yeah, so that could be the case as well.
Okay, lack of awareness and education, I guess, in that aspect. Yeah. Given that Singapore is often used as a transit point in the illegal wildlife trade, how do you think the country can work together with other nations to tackle this very much global issue?
I think Singapore has taken a nice lead, especially with the launch of the CITES Global Youth Network. I think it's a step in the right direction because while these transnational criminal organizations are very well networked, right? I think countries, because illegal wildlife trade is a transnational crime, countries also need to be as networked, better networked even. So I think this is an upstream process where the youths are coming together, they are getting to know each other and also building capacity. And so that, in the near future, right, they can actually be better networked, better informed, and also have better technologies as well to tackle illegal wildlife trade.
But in the long term, how can they help shape change? I mean, how can empowering youth today actually make a difference down the line?
I think it's a big task, right? It's a generational change. And you're talking about the entire pipeline, from supply to demand, right? And in between that, you have like the trans-criminal organization, and you have brokers, you have suppliers and all that, and you have syndicates as well. So it's a big task ahead. Yeah. But I think one of the good things that they can do is actually have reduced demand by education. And I think this generation, which is so well connected, they have a lot of resources like social media. I've seen them doing that, and I think spreading that awareness is very important. I think people lack the awareness that if you are buying things from the wild, you are creating a demand for them to be poached from the wild. And what happens then, then they will be extinct. And these animals that are poached from the wild, they have ecosystems functions, like they are maybe predator, they may be, they may be pollinators, they may be important seed dispersers also. So while we can preserve our forests, but if animals are being swiped out from the forest, I think we are in, the planet is in bad shape if that happens continuously. Yeah.
Despite these enforcement efforts that are already being in place, there are still concerns that Singapore still risks being seen as a transit point for smugglers, right? What stronger steps do you think the country can take to close that gap?
I think Singapore has done a lot, in terms of having a canine unit, also setting up the Centre for Wildlife Forensics, and also having sting operations as well. I think what we could do, which we are doing through this CITES Global Youth Network, is actually to build networks. And these networks can actually also then build that kind of intel understanding among countries. And not only that, right, I think further than that also we can actually build up genetic databases, where we have provenance data, where, we have animals where we can extract DNA from and understand, hey, where did this come from? And this better gives us a better idea of where they are poached from, what kind of trade routes they take, and also then this gives us a better way to target enforcement as well. Yeah.
Beyond enforcement, Professor Loo, the public also has a role to play, isn't it? How can Singaporeans as a whole play a part in helping to reducing numbers in illegal wildlife trade?
Okay. Yeah, so keep wild animals wild. Like I said, they have an ecosystems function. And I think besides the public as well, I think the private sector has a role to play. Logistic companies that, illegal wildlife trade is smuggled through. Bus companies, that cross the busy borders also can do a part to at least, educate their bus drivers or educate the tour operators or educate the logistic companies, to say that, hey, you have to be careful about your nature-related risk. Yeah, so I think everyone has a part to play in this issue.
Very useful advice, Professor Loo. Thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. Associate Professor Adrian Loo there, Deputy Director at the NUS Centre for Climate-Based Solutions.